Hi, welcome back to Circle for story time. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, wiggle your shoulders, wiggle your nose. Oh, don't touch your face. Now all the wiggles are out of me and I can sit still as can be with my hands on my head. No, that's not right. With my hands on my ears. No, that's not right either. I wouldn't be able to hear the story. With my hands in my, where? My lap. That's right. Okay. So I thought we would come back around to what we left on our last day of school, and that was learning about different artists. Today I'm going to read you a story about Picasso. And this was written and illustrated by Mike Venezia. Hold on. Nope, I was right. Venezia. All right, here we go. Look at that front cover. Isn't that cool? We'll learn a little bit about cubism. Can everybody say cubism? Let's clap that word out. Cubism. All right, you ready? We're going to find out what that word means. Picasso. Pablo Picasso was one of the greatest artists of the 20th century. He was born in Malaga, Spain in 1881. That was a long time ago. And died in France in 1973. And there he is. Picasso's father was an art teacher at the local school, and he encouraged his son to paint and draw. He wanted Picasso to become a great artist someday. And Picasso's dad is saying here, I think we have a great artist on our hands. And Picasso's mother is saying, I think we have a great mess on our hands. Picasso's painting style changed over the period of his life more than any other great artist. He was always trying new and different things. The painting here was done by him when he was only 15 years old. Look at that. That's pretty amazing. This painting was done when Picasso was 57. There's quite a difference between the two paintings, isn't there? Which one do you like better? The one that looks more realistic or the more abstract one? Sometimes Picasso would paint things that looked very flat. Sometimes he would paint things that looked so round that you might be able to pick them up off the painting. Picasso's blue period. Then something happened. Picasso's paintings changed. His work became different from anyone else's. His best friend died, and Picasso felt alone and sad. At the same time, none of his paintings were selling, and he was almost starving. Because of his mood, Picasso began to paint with lots of blue. Blue can be a very sad color. He made all the people in his paintings look lonely and sad. Some people thought Picasso's blue paintings were great. Others, including Picasso's father, thought they were just too strange. This meant his paintings were controversial. That means people were arguing whether they were good or not so good. Controversial, that's a very big word. Oh, here we go. The Rose period. Picasso's blue period ended when he met a girl named Fernand. Okay, we'll call her Fern. Fern and Picasso fell in love, and soon a happier color started showing up in Picasso's paintings. This was the beginning of the Rose period. It's always nice when you meet a new friend. It makes you feel good, doesn't it? Not only were Picasso's colors happiest during the Rose period, but he started painting happier things. Picasso painted a lot of circus people during this time. He often painted them with their animals. The Rose period didn't last very long, though, because Picasso found a new way to paint that was really exciting and different. Whoa. Cubism. Cubism was the next style of painting that Picasso developed and made famous. This is a Cubist painting of one of Picasso's friends. The man in the painting looks like he's been broken up in little cubes. That's where the name Cubism came from. See all these little cubes here, little boxes? Look closely. Can you see the man's face? What he was wearing, his hands, a bottle, a glass, and maybe his pet cat? Can you find anything else in that picture? Look really carefully. Cubism is one of the most important periods in the history of modern art. For hundreds of years, artists tried very hard to paint things so they would look real. Then Picasso came along and started to paint people and things that didn't look the way people and things were supposed to look. Picasso was always shocking people, but when he started painting people who had eyes and noses in the wrong places, well, even some of his closest friends thought he had gone too far. The thing that made Picasso such a great artist was his originality. He had the imagination to try new and different things through his entire life. Picasso lived to be 92 years old. Wow, that is really old. He was a great painter, but he was great at other things too. He made sculptures, prints, drawings, beautifully colored dishes and bowls. He even made costumes and scenery for plays. It would be so awesome to see one of Picasso's paintings in real life. Some of them are huge. So if you take a stroll, maybe virtually online, through some of the museums, you might come across one of Picasso's paintings. So we're going to move over to the table because I'm going to show you a project that you might be able to do at home with your grown-ups. All right, so why don't we get up and we're going to move on over here. And I set out some things, and we're going to quickly go through this. We'll set our Picasso over here. Our project today is going to be based on Picasso's Cubism. And what I have out here today are some materials that you might be able to use, and some of this stuff you might have at home. And if not, I've got a backup plan for that. So what I have out today is some Elmer's glue. I've also got some Mod Podge, which sometimes we have at home and sometimes we don't. But the great thing about Elmer's glue is if you add just a little bit of water to it, you can get the same effect as using the Mod Podge. And if you don't have this or this and you only have a glue stick, that will work too. All right, so for our colorful background, you have some choices. Now remember, Cubism is breaking things up into what? Right, little squares or rectangles. So what we can do is if you've got some tissue paper at home, you can, Mrs. Tashoff forgot a scissor. Hold on one second. Come right over here and grab a scissor. So if you've got some colored tissue paper at home, you can either have mom or dad or any grown-up cut out some different squares and rectangles, and you can glue it on here with either glue stick or with the glue that we mentioned, and you can glue it any way you want. You can glue it this direction, You can glue it this direction. You can also use a variety of colors. And your squares and rectangles can overlap a little bit if you want them to. All right, just like that. So that's with the tissue paper. If you don't have any tissue paper at home, mom, dad, moms, you can also use a backup plan. Everybody's got leftover streamers at home from parties, I'm sure, because I know I've got a drawer full of them. Having 4 kids, we have lots of birthdays at our house. So you can also cut these streamers very easily into your rectangles or your squares, just like that. You can take a little bit of your glue stick and you can paste it down. And again, if you want to overlap, then you can overlap your squares as well, and that gets a really interesting look to it. Again, if you do have regular Elmer's glue and you add a little bit of water to it in a little bowl, and then have the kids dip into it, paint over the tissue paper or the streamers, and it gives it a little bit of a glossy effect. So that's pretty cool. So that's that. Now, if you don't have any tissue paper at home or any streamers, here's another idea. Your children using a ruler. I don't have one here right at the moment, but I'm gonna just do it by freehand. Your children can create their own squares and rectangles just by using straight lines down and out. Very similar to drawing your lines for your letters, okay? So you can fill up your whole page with just squares and rectangles that way. And then take some colored pencils. I'm just going to do it quickly here just to give you the idea. Use lots of colors, or if you're in a blue period, just use blue. Or if you're in your rose period, just use red. I happen to like all of these colors, so I'm going to color all of my squares in different colors, just like that. So once you've filled out the paper, this is the really fun part. Go to your old magazines and look and see if you can find some faces. Cut out a whole variety of different face parts. Lips, eyes, and I suggest you just, again, cut them in a square shape, okay? We've got a mouth with teeth, got another kind of eye, and if you have enough faces in your magazines, I would suggest you cut a variety of them and mix them up so it's not just the same face. Some of them can be cartoony and some of them can be real. And then you're going to have your children just glue a face on to the background that they've created. And remember, Picasso created faces that really didn't look a lot like our faces. It was very abstract. So there could be an eye up here and a nose down here and an eye over here. And here's a sample of what I did. So try this out. It's really fun to do. And once you've finished it, I would love to see what you've created. All right, so you guys, thanks so much for being with me today. I look forward to talking to you again tomorrow. And have a great afternoon.